we could talk a little bit more about like the Batfleck thing. I kind of gave my 2 cents when the whole that interview came out and the whole news, and I was like, it was a weird time. It was like yesterday. I plan on seeing Macbeth last night, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, check out these screenshots from the Herald Sun that." Nobody has seen because nobody subscribed to it because there's like you have to have a subscription.
It's behind the paywall. It's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So I went, fuck. And I was like, oh man, what do I do? I'm like, this is him basically pretty much confirming that he's done. And the biggest thing was like, oh man, he said one of his favorite scenes from The Flash is Batman. Oh shit. And then I sent, I remember sending it to Steven, and I was like, there it is. And it was like, what the fuck? We kind of just went, okay. And then we just kind of went, all right, let's talk about this. And now it's, and then, yeah. Such a snake.
Such a traitor.
The interesting thing, I don't want to open that. I don't know. We can talk about it for as long as you want, I guess. Or we all know I can go on. But, I think the narrative on the whole restore the Snyderverse, including Affleck's Batman and all that, it's we're gonna do the whole. I would love to see it. You would love to see it, right? We'd all love to see it.
We all would, of course, but
there's I think a misunderstanding or even a lack of appreciation maybe from a lot of people, and not everyone. I'm not trying to say like if you ever tweet the hashtag then you're whatever. But I think there's a general lack of understanding of like just exactly what was accomplished with the Snyder Cut, and there's a feeling of like, well, if like that was something that was done, it was something that Zach was supportive of. Whenever he was asked about it, he was actively teasing it. That's different from what he's doing. He's teasing old stuff now, not teasing new. He's not posting more storyboards. He's not posting more about what's going next. Sure, he'd like to do it, but he's not like I don't know. I don't want to get into because everyone's going to Final Crisis and all that. But but the point is, regardless of what it is, it's a very different type of tease. Than he's not dropping images. He's not dropping pieces of storyboard or pages of script or whatever. And sure, he'd always like for that conversation to be kept up, but he is not encouraging the campaign in teases or behind the scenes, frankly, as much as he was with the other stuff. He is
because he's busy.
Yeah, and then whereas like then with Affleck, you have like if you're gonna talk about his Batman and separate from like Snyder's stuff, is you had like with the Snyder Cut in the campaign for that. Once again, you had Zach actively people said Zach's moved on, but he was saying at the time, like if he was asked, he was like, yeah, who knows, he was reluctant to like outright call for it up until like November 17th. But if he was asked about it, he would be coy or he would tease stuff or whatever. He never said I'm moving on. He never said I couldn't publish it until after the movie came out, but he said when I interviewed him on the set of Army of the Dead, he said I wouldn't ask people to move on. He's like, you got to respect the fans in their campaigning, and it means a lot, and it feels like a black hole in my filmography, and all those things, and so obviously he was very supportive of getting it out there. Whereas like Affleck, whenever he's asked about Batman, he says, well, I'm done with the character. I'm moving on. I don't want to do IP stuff anymore. And sure, he changed his mind before, but like he changed his mind. Like I think that fans need to draw a distinction between, like, if he's going to change his mind, he's going to change his mind. And this campaigning, if Affleck is not actively teasing it or actively saying, I'm interested in doing it, like Snyder was with the Snyder Cut, then the person you're campaigning at is not WB. The person that's stopping that from happening, like, you don't think if Ben Affleck were to say publicly, oh, I would love to do the Batman, I would love to make that happen. If I got another crack at it, that would be awesome. You don't think that like WB would be more
Of course they would.
Yes,
like,
they would.
Like the floodgates that would open up if he said, hey, if something can work out, I'd be happy to do that. Like the slightest hint from him, the fact that this has been such a big deal in the news, that would just be astronomical if he were to give the slightest hint of, yes, let's do that, it would trend, it would explode, it would encourage campaigns, etc. And he discourages it whenever he's asked about it. I'd love to see it. I hope that one day he decides to come back. It'd be awesome to see him as like an old, Dark Knight Returns style Batman, if that's how long it takes. If he decides to come back sooner, that would be awesome. But it's going to be his decision. Yeah. And I think if you're going to be campaigning for it, you have to campaign with the understanding that at this point, you're not campaigning on his behalf. You're campaigning against what he's saying he wants. Which is entirely different waters than what you're talking about when you're talking about release the Snyder Cut. Even Restore the Snyderverse is a different context, because Zack is fully dedicated to Rebel Moon. He's fully dedicated to the Army of the Dead stuff. And so sure, he could come back and do it after that, or there's other ways he could work this out. But ultimately what you're asking both of them to do is to change their priorities from what they are now to something, to a different project. Which is people, I think they like to consider Restore the Snyderverse an extension of the Snyder Cut campaign. And they also feel like they'd be quitting or failing. Like, no, like you accomplished something with the Snyder Cut campaigns that was like not supposed to be able to happen. And it did. And that was an achievement. And that is a project that it was completed and successful, and it won. Now a new separate project is the Snyderverse stuff. And yes, bang the drum whenever you get the chance about what that could have been or what that should have been, or how we would like to realize that. But we're not you have to do it in the context of understanding that we're not campaigning for a half completed cut to be released. We're campaigning for an entire slate of films to be greenlit and funded, and actors re-signed and contracts formed and crew brought back. And schedule opened up, and when is that going to happen after Rebel Moon and after Planet of the Dead, or is it going to happen like I don't know. Yeah. So it's an entirely different thing, and I think it's really disingenuous to consider it an extension of the Snyder Cut campaign, because it's not, and I don't know. I think that a lot of people are caught up in this, like, oh, if I back down now, I'm letting Zack down. No, Zack's happy. Like Zack is
totally happy.
Like Zack is happier doing what he's doing now, having finished the Snyder Cut, than he was having to leave the Snyder Cut behind. Like, he has no incomplete movie. He has no movies that he shot that haven't been able to see. He did what he wanted to do with the Snyder Cut, and he's proud of that. And in a way, like, I think he kind of tried to walk out the door at WB, like, and burn the house down behind him, and now everybody is like, it like kind of almost ruins the dramatic exit when you're like, he's like, peace, I'm out, and then all the fans are like, no, wait, it's like, no,
we want your sequels.
And it's like, no, let them like stew in his like, let him walk away from the explosion. Like,
yeah,
give him his slow motion. It's Zack Snyder. Let him walk away from the explosion in slow motion. If he's gonna come back, sure, he'll come back later. But like, let him walk away from the explosion in slow motion first.
Yeah, let him clean up that rubble a little bit.
Well, and I think that personally, like, I don't really think it's so much of people that are like feel like they're failing Zack if they're giving up on Zack. I think what you're seeing from a lot of these people that are hanging on to it is you're seeing you're finding out who was really in this for Zack, who was really in this for like that, and who was really in this for their own wishes, for what they want to see. And that's really where a lot of the animosity and where a lot of the anger can come from.
Ben is saying is the real separation from that, because being in it for Zack was like literally for Zack. It was something Zack wanted. It was something Zack was teasing and campaigning for. And with this, they're saying like they're either disregarding his words, going against Affleck's words, or being like, oh, well, that's not, when he said he doesn't want to do any more IP movies, he meant IP other than Batman, or like
something that fits what they want.
He said he was going to do more superhero movies after Daredevil. He said, I'm done with Batman, before signing up for the Justice League reshoots or the Snyder Cut additional photography and the Flash. So like, sure, he could come back and I would love to see it. But if the man is saying, I left because of the worst experience I've had professionally and I'm happier for it, then like, I got to let his return be like, I'm not going to be the one that's like, yeah, but I think Batman's really cool, so you've got to do more for me.
Right.
That's the thing right there.
Exactly.
That's the thing. I mean, we know that Ben loves Batman, you know. We know this, and it's probably been a dream role, but at the same time, it's also been it's been harrowing. Like the fact, I mean, when you read the articles that he's, the interviews that he's had recently, I mean, he went hard on the LA Times one, right? I mean, he just talked about how, like, talking about the reshoots being some of the worst experiences and everything. And I mean, what he was going through at the time, you kind of go like, hey, you feel for the guy. You really feel for the guy. And, when it comes to a dream role that is playing Batman, and the fact that he wanted to do it for him and his kids, and then it ended up being something that was like grueling, and it was something that just was one of the worst experiences that he claims that he said in his quotes. You kind of go, all right, yeah, you understand the fact that if he were to do like his own Batman movie, he even said, he was like, you have to be happy to do this. And he wasn't happy at the time. And then even just coming back, I mean, who knows? Like I said, it's never like the door is never closed. The door is never closed. And we always talk about like the fact that the door is never closed. And I mean, even at the beginning of the stream, I had people in the chat go like, what the fuck? You're just giving up. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying, I'm just going by what he's saying right
that
now.
Whole giving up thing to me like there is like it feels like you're losing to say like, oh, I'm going to stop campaigning for this movie. But like if Ben says that he's satisfied with his time as Batman and he's excited to do these other projects and they're more fulfilling to him, then how are you losing if your whole thing is like for the artistic freedom? And like he got the closure he wanted from the character, and he's getting the creative opportunities
which we haven't seen
he was probably worried he was going to be deprived of after Justice League and BVS because of how those were reviewed. And so
the fact that he had input on the scenes in the Flash, that's what I love. I'm like, all right, if he's satisfied what he did in the Flash, and the fact that he's even quoted by saying, wow, some of the best things that I've done as Batman was in the Flash, which intrigues me a little bit more. And I know it's like, it's such a, it's divisive of what's happening with the Flash. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's a mess and blah, 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 and, all that stuff. But at the same time, I'm going like, all right, well, you have these people
from like unsubstantiated root. Not that it's not true, but like the level of reporting and the difference between those claims and like the other stuff we're hearing is an entirely different, like rumor mill versus.
But when you hear from the VFX artists who are Zach Stews, DJ, Brian Hirota, and then you have Ben going, hey, this is some of the fun. This is some of the greatest stuff. Like, and I'm going, how do I not?
Miss about DJ and Brian also is when they were on your stream. Was it DJ? He said his biggest professional regret is not walking away from Justice League when Zach left.
Yeah,
is it DJ that said that?
I think his biggest regret
in his career is not walking away, and he does not have a career to snuff at, like. He's been involved in like some of like the biggest blockbusters and revolutionary things. And so for him to make a claim like that shows not just a level of like support for Snyder and what Snyder goes for, but also a level of like integrity and cares about what happened to him. It's not just like, oh yeah, I like Zach. It's, oh no, he was wronged, and I think that was offensive, and I wish I wasn't a part of it. And then so he signs up for the Flash, and he says it's because of having read the script. I think that says something about the movie.
It does. Well, because I come back to that all the time, and I say this to people. It's like, you want me to believe that these guys who profess this integrity, who feel this way, who are this honest, you want me to believe that Ben Affleck and Ezra Miller and everybody else involved is actively going to participate in something that you're certain is going to do this. And I find it very difficult to accept that would be the case.
And it's complicated too, because like you can't sweep the Ray Fisher stuff under the rug.
No.
No.
And like, and everything that went down with that is unfortunate and like a problem. But in any corporation or any situation or movie production or whatever, it's you can't paint everything with a black and white brush of like everything involved with the movie is bad and because I don't know, I hate the argument of like, well, Hollywood is just corrupt, so therefore like no, you shouldn't just like close your eyes and like I have a hard time watching like anything that had like, even a lot of the X-Men movies are tainted from me because of like Bryan Singer and stuff, but when you watch any of this stuff, like I don't know, I don't want to once again paint it with a broad brush, but like every movie you've ever seen has had like wicked evil people making money from it or like involved in it in some way. And
we were talking about Tarantino's movies earlier. Who produced the most
Weinstein?
Bingo.
Yeah.
So like, but no, you're absolutely right. You can't sweep it under the rug, Steven. But by the same token,
ignored. But I don't think you can draw a hard line stance on like if you support this, then you like for example, are you pro rape if you watch a Weinstein movie? Like
right.
Like you can't make that kind of equivocation.
Well, and not only like taking it further with the Ray Fisher situation, it wasn't a situation where like his whole situation, like it affected the Flash movie by proxy. The plan was that he was going to be in it.
Yeah,
outside circumstances, outside of their control, forced them into a position where he is not in it. That has nothing to do. There was never no active decision was made to remove him from the movie. His relationship with the studio broke down. And the problem is that there has been no resolution between him and the studio. Not that he's not in the Flash movie.
And he stood his ground.
Right.
So he's not going to be in the movie. Yeah.
Right.
Even though the Muschietis and everybody, they wanted him in the movie.
Right. So blaming the movie for that is the wrong angle to take.
Well, there's a question of principle for that too, because I think that's very commendable for him to stick to his guns and to stand up firm for what he believes in. But there's a I think to your point, if he wanted to be in the, if he cared more about being in the movie than he did about the principles that he's standing for, then he would be in the movie. So it's not like he was removed from it for other. He had a choice between this or that, and also it wasn't just because standing up for this principle. It was specifically the statement that I won't work with Walter Hamada.
Right.
And despite everything else that had happened, he was still involved. He was still in the script. He was still, and then he made that statement, and then they're kind of at a crossroads, and they can't just stop the movie. Like the movie needs to hit a schedule and start shooting. And you kind of like, how do you come back from that statement? And I'm not saying that it's not my place to say that him making that statement was wrong or to take that stand is wrong, because he's standing for something that he has a moral and ethical belief in that that is great. But it's not like he was fired for asking for an investigation. He wasn't fired for any of the stuff that he tweeted about WB. He was fired because he said, I refuse to work for a person involved in this movie. And there was just no, even if they were to work that out, I don't know if there's even enough time to solve that issue in order to get him in the movie at that with that shooting schedule. It's
right. Well, and to further clarify, like, he was fired from the studio, not from the movie. So when I think people push it too far and act like the movie is what he's being removed from. That's the problem. No, again, the problem is his relationship with the studio. He was fired from the studio. The movie was affected by that firing.
Yeah, and I think that's an important distinction. But yeah, because he was on the movie up until that point, and it was a statement about something at the studio that got him removed. Muschietti didn't remove him.
No.
You know, and it wasn't removal for these other things. So,
Right.
And if you think that if you feel morally compelled that the only way that you can stand with that is to boycott the movie, like that's fine. I mean, like, I can't tell anybody not to like stand for their morals. I think that how he was treated was wrong, and I still think they have some making up to do. I don't think that the way I see it is that the whenever you talk about boycotting a movie, you start to talk about like financial pull, and are they gonna know? Am I gonna like not see a movie, and then they're gonna be like, oh, Steven didn't see the movie? Like, there's no like the amount of financial impact on that is not significant. I think that making sure that like we talk about these things when they come up, we don't brush the Ray Fisher situation under the rug. Right. We support Ray in his other movies, etc. You know, those things are all helpful for the situation. Maybe you'll feel better if you boycott the movie, and that's great, but it's not gonna. I don't know. I won't cast judgment on whether or not it'll work or not. Like, it's not about whether or not it works, right? It's like Ray standing up for his principle. Everybody's got to do that for themselves. But
right. But to be clear, that is who they're doing it for, themselves.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, it's all crazy. It's all crazy, and like, I mean, when it comes to all the information and the craziness that happened this week, which wasn't, I mean, it was tweets and whatnot and interviews, and it's just like, you know what, we just we just got to go like, hey, if Affleck's done, then Affleck's done, but we can support him with whatever he decides to do. If he wants to come back, that's cool. We want him to come back. We love him as Batman. When it comes to Ray and all that stuff, it's like, you know what, support him in what he's doing right now. Women of the movement. I know that was that came out this week, and I haven't watched it yet. I don't know if you guys watched it yet.
I haven't. No.
Yeah, I know it's I didn't.
It's on Hulu, I think.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. And I don't have a Hulu right now, but I think I could probably get one, and I do want to support it. And that's one of the things is when it comes to everybody involved with this is like, I want to support their other projects. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we owe these actors is the fact that, we've supported them, and we've, they went through a grueling time when it came to some of this stuff with when it comes to Justice League and everything like that. And, in these past like 4 years or 5 years, 6 years, whatever the fuck it is. And, I mean, I think we just kind of owe it to them as fans. Like, hey, you know what? Let's support their outside projects when it comes to this. I'm a big supporter of that. And I think we all are, and we all should really do that. And I want to see what Ray Fisher's doing. I want to see what Ben Affleck's doing and everything like that. I mean, it's all crazy, and then who knows what's going on with Cavill? I mean, who knows what's going on with Cavill? Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds.
That's a whole other ball of wax right there.
That's a whole, and that's why I just kind of go like, well, he's still game. Who knows if that game is still going to be there? I mean, it's all just been like an up and down thing, but it just seems like hearing Affleck's quotes is just like, he's in a good place. He's in a very good place. He's in a better place than it was back in 2017, 2016, 17 because he just sounded like he was in probably like one of the worst spots possible. Divorce, alcoholism, and just like a character that he's playing that he has loved since probably a child, and it's just being ripped to shreds more because every movie he's been, Batman has been dicked with by the studio. And hopefully when it comes to the Flash,
he threw a jab to that when he talked about the Flash too.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like, I really loved what I did in the Flash. I hope they don't mess with it.
He said, I hope they keep the integrity of the scenes.
Yeah, yes.
And it's like, yeah, we hope so too, because
I read that and I was like, that is,
I know.
And you can't blame him for saying that after everything that happened.
You really can't, because it's like, when it comes to BVS, Suicide Squad, and Justice League, they've all been messed with, and it must suck to see that. I mean, luckily we got a BVS Ultimate Cut, which is essentially all right, cool. We got that out. We still have not got the Ayer Cut, and hopefully we do get that. And we got the Snyder Cut. So, I mean, at least there's been a little bit of redemption when it comes to what he's done when it comes to Batman. But I mean, we still need that. I mean, but he wasn't a big role, of course, when it comes to Suicide Squad. So maybe it's not that effective. But there's other actors that, hey, Jared Leto, we need to see more of what he did in the Suicide Squad and everybody else. It's just all big. It's all just been crazy. But I love the fact that Ben is very content, very healthy, very he's just good where he's at right now.
Yeah.
And if
I am a little sad that I understand it. I understand why, because he said in an interview that he doesn't want to be away from his kids.
Yes, that's
for very long.
Too.
But I love seeing him in all these roles he's been doing. I'm a little bit sad that we're not going to see him direct anything in the near future.
That's true, because The Town, Argo were phenomenal. Yeah, yes. I mean, Jesus Christ, he is the fact that very so talented
much awesome
director.
Stuff on his slate and not directing projects.
I also like The Way Back too. I don't know if you guys saw The Way Back.
The Way Back was really great too. Yeah, I know. There's like I personally
like Live by Night.
Oh yeah, it was great. I don't know. I liked it.
Well, it had some issues, but I really liked the
vibe
and what you're going for. Yeah.
No, but I'm hoping it gets to a point where I mean, when his kids get older, where now it's like, all right, these kids are older now. I can take more time for they don't need to
he'll come back and he'll play Bruce Wayne in Zack Snyder's Dark Knight Rises.
Dude.
No, I think that's the best. I know he said he explicitly doesn't like Affleck and Cavill, but given the current situation, I actually think that the best shot that they have at returning to the role might just be in like 5 or 10 years. Zack finally gets that Dark Knight Returns direct adaptation.
I mean, he said that. He said that here on the Vodka stream.
Yeah,
he was like, he would love to like do that full-on adaptation of the Dark Knight
Affleck
Returns.
in 10 years. Yeah,
fuck, Jesus Christ, and he would still be in great shape. He would
and it calls for an older Batman too. Like there's so many. And they can. I'm sure that they need to change it a bit. Focus more on Carrie Kelly, maybe, because we've already had the animated adaptation, and BVS takes so much from it. But, I think that would be seems like the more likely scenario now. But who knows what what happened?
Yeah, I mean, and then when it comes to everything, I mean, dare we say that there's anything that's not live action that could be, if the Snyderverse. Now I'm walking on those hot coals. Of course, I know. Because we can't say that. We can't say like, well, I mean, when we have Zach and Ben that are off, kind of doing their, what if we do? If there's an animation thing, Jay Oliva, that'd be pretty sweet. But that would be probably the easiest scenario for, hey, Zach or Ben, everybody come back, or something like that. I mean, that's why I think we're all, at least us here in this circle and a lot of people too, would be okay with like an alternate version of what Zach is trying to do.
That conversation might change quite a bit after Army of the Dead Las Vegas comes out too, and people see. I think when people think animation, they're thinking
the animation
like DCAU or something like that. And the DCAU animation is great, but I think that they just don't have context for because the Army of the Dead Las Vegas stuff is like almost like an impressionist live action.
Yeah,
kind of take. It's very painterly. It's painterly. I mean, it looks like Dark Knight or like Justice League and BVS concept art brought to life. So like in motion. So
all the characters are gonna look like the actors. It's almost gonna look like what was that movie that had Keanu Reeves, Robert Downey Jr.
Scanner Darkly.
Scanner Darkly.
Scanner Darkly. I'm wondering if it's gonna be like a little bit kind of like that. That was recognize the actors.
That was rotoscoping, so like there was actual live action that was filmed.
Yeah,
but same idea.
I'm not saying it's gonna be like full on like that, but I think like this animation is going to vary. I mean, we've already seen, Vander Row.
The cast is going to be all
looking like how they look. you know.
And they even did some mocap for the stunts too. So it's not
There it is.
100% hand animated or whatever they do for that kind of stuff.
So kind of, you know, imagine if like we don't get the live action stuff, we can get something like that. I mean, I don't know. We're always open.
Yeah, I
for
guess that's an
different...
exclusive. But
oh, don't say that.
no.
Don't say that. But you know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm excited for it to be awesome.
Yeah, it's all going to be great, and you know, we're just kind of just looking towards the future, and you know, now you know, thank God the 40 Club has been retired. Now it's the Move On Club. Is that what the whole thing is?
I'm so far out of that stuff these days that every time I hear about it, I'm like, wow, A, that's still going on. B, they're saying
there's no 40
now?
Club.
Like,
there's no 40 Club. It's the Move On.
Be glad that you were this far out of it. You don't need to pay attention to any of it.
I have a hard time putting energy into things that are clearly like, man, if I'm going in a circle, I get real antsy about like, yeah. So
I mean, it's all just about, you know, right now it's just we just want to whatever's good for Zach, whatever's good for Ben, whatever's good for Henry, anybody involved, whatever is good and whatever we can get. If we can get that finished story in any medium that we can, whether it's animation, live action, or if it's a, dare I say, graphic novel, you know, I said that word. Oh shit, I'm gonna get dogpiled again, you know. But it's just like,
well, then eventually if Zach eventually comes out and is like, yeah, I'd like to do it that way.
Then
well, you're gonna have everyone act the same way they are to the Ben Affleck news, where they're like, no, we want it. We don't want what you want, like,
you know. But I mean, one thing about Zach, just even talking to him and just seeing how he likes to finish his stuff, and to him it seems like it doesn't matter. Like, okay, if obviously the Snyder Cut, that was like a hole in his filmography that he wanted to finish, and he did it. He achieved it. You know, the fans rallied behind him. We got it done, and blah blah blah. And of course, he's got these the sequels to that. So it's like, how do you finish that? Well, who knows? Maybe it's gonna be, if it's live action, that'd be great, obviously. But obviously he's busy right now trying to build original stuff over at Netflix. Maybe it could be something else. Maybe he could put it somewhere else, or it just, who knows? Who knows? That's the thing. It's just whatever happens, just put energy towards whatever these guys are doing. That's all I like. That's what I like, is like, as we're waiting for whatever happens, put energy towards what Zach is doing over at Netflix, what Ben is doing when it comes to like Tender Bar and anything else he's doing. Just put the energy towards what they're doing, because they're doing good stuff. I mean, Ben Affleck's getting recognized award season for Tender Bar. Apparently he's killing it, and I'm gonna probably watch it this weekend because it's on Amazon and everybody should watch it too. He's getting praise for what he does in the Tender Bar, and let's just support it. If we're gonna support Batfleck, let's support him when he's not full on Batfleck. That's what I'm saying. We love these people, so let's just do that. So, all right.